All right, this is the HuntStand podcast coming at you from ground zero of Coues deer country in Sonora, Mexico. One of my favorite places on earth. The first time I came to this ranch was actually about 11 years ago, and then I returned about 6 years ago. So I've hunted Gould's wild turkeys here. I've hunted Coues deer here once, and I've been dreaming about coming back ever since because it is literally one of my favorite places on earth. I think I mentioned that to you a few times. So I'm here with my good friend Ted and Alice and Beth, and we're going to break down the backstory behind this amazing ranch, but also how the deer hunting got started here and kind of where things are at today, and also some of our experience that we've had thus far this week. We still got
one tag to go.
One tag and one evening, and when you hunt long enough, you realize you got to take it down to the wire sometimes, so we're still optimistic about tonight.
Absolutely.
But Alice, ever since I first came here 11 years ago, or wait, what would that be? 2010. So.
No, it wasn't 2010.
Really?
Because I started here in 2012.
Wait, what did I say that was then? 2000. Anyway, I think it was, no, it must have been 2015. That's what it was. I was here in 2015 for turkeys. And then I came back in 2020. So
correct.
Yeah, that'd be
10 years ago.
Terrible at math, but
10 years ago.
Yeah, so I guess ever since that first trip, I was just enthralled by the ranch, the people, but the backstory of how this place came to be. So I'd love for you to just give kind of a Cliff Notes version of how you ended up here and how it kind of came to be.
This ranch was in my husband's family after World War II. It was previously started by a British family, and the British woman is buried here on the ranch. My husband and I were Silicon Valley executives working hard in our Dilbert cubicles at the end of the freeway, and we had two young children whose neighbors all got BMWs when they turned 16. It was that kind of a place. We just gradually realized that we didn't want to be in that competitive environment with different values, and we always had come back to the ranch for holidays to visit family, and the more we came, the less we wanted to return to Silicon Valley. So it took probably 7 years before we made the leap. When our children were 3.5 and 5.5, we moved here permanently. And we've been here ever since, and that was 35 years ago.
So what was this place like? I mean, now, obviously it's off-grid still, but it's very comfortable, got power to do everything we need, got running water, the whole nine. Was it a little bit more rugged when you first showed up?
Yeah, we had wood-burning stoves, which we still have for cooking and heating, but we had kerosene lamps. And my husband was an engineer at Hewlett-Packard, and that would never do. So he installed the solar panels and the electrical system and did some of the other enhancements, and we now have internet too.
The wood-burning stoves and heat are one of my favorite parts coming back here. Every evening, sitting by this, the smell of the fire, the smoke, just that the heat that you get off wood is unlike anything else. So it's kind of my ritual. I love to sit here in the evening, and then first thing in the morning before breakfast, I love to come. It's a little hot right now with the sun coming through and this baby burning next to me. But I might be breaking a pretty solid sweat by the end of this podcast.
I think food tastes better cooked on a wood stove. I'm
For
not sure, but that's my opinion.
It does, yeah. So when it comes to the hunting side of it, let's break down a little bit how you and Ted met and what that evolution looked like and why we're all sitting here today.
Well, we originally started raising cattle here. That was the historic business. We added sheep, and we were looking for an alternative enterprise to kind of even out the income flow, and we had narrowed it down to birding or hunting based on various surveys and other investigations that we did. And I don't remember, Ted, how we met. You will tell us. You want to tell us now?
We met at the 2001 SCI convention. It was towards the end of the evening. We had a small TV show, and we were going around trying to hustle up free hunts. And Roberto and Alice, and I think Ted Byfield might have been there as well,
Maybe.
her previous outfitter. And they were there, had a small booth, and I saw Coues turkeys and Coues deer, and turkeys have always been a passion of mine. So we begged and pleaded, and they invited us to come down in 2002 for a turkey hunt. It was a successful hunt, and enjoyed the place. And nothing I can tell you other than the internet, and because Alice's food, like she said, on wood stove is phenomenal. It was great in 2002. So we loosely kept in touch with Roberto for the next 4 or 5 years, and then kind of went silent with each other. Just things got busy, and I didn't come back down for a hunt. And then in 2011, I was in Kansas with my whitetail operation there, and Roberto called me just out of the blue. He says, "Ted, we need some help. We need to book some Coues turkey hunters. Can you help us?" And I said, "Well, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to help you, Roberto, but I want to come back. I want to make sure the logistics are good. Everything was the quality it was when I came here in 2002. I wasn't looking for another free hunt. So my wife and I came down in June, looked at the ranch. Everything was exactly the way we had left it 10 years earlier. And we made an arrangement to partner up on the Coues turkeys and then eventually the Coues deer. And that was 14 years ago. And it's been a blessing in my life to have this opportunity here with Alice and her late husband, Roberto.
I repeat that because Ted does a very good job of curating excellent hunters to come here. We're a little different than other hunting operations in Sonora in that we are one of the few families that actually lives on our ranch full time. Most of them are absentee owners. So I'm inviting people into my home, and they've got to be nice people. And so far they all are, and I credit Ted for that.
Yeah. Coues deer hunting has certainly become, at least through my lens, it seems like it's become much more popular. But I can't imagine that there are many operations that are run this meticulously. It's seamless from crossing the border. Everything just feels very comfortable. Feel at home. Food's great. I mean, that's why this really has become one of my favorite places on earth. When we were on the mountain, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I believe my remark was, out of everywhere I've been, I find a level of peace here that I haven't been able to achieve anywhere else. I don't know exactly what it is. One of the sort of analogies I used when I was explaining it to Logan, the dude who's running the cameras right now, it's almost like every 20 or so minutes you drive as you come south toward the ranch from the border, it's almost like you go back 20 years every 20 minutes. So it's like a step back in time, and it's nice, even though you guys do have internet now, and like, unfortunately, I had cell phone service on top of the mountain. It's still just it's a wonderful feeling of disconnect from the chaos of what we're used to living every day. So love coming down here and the hunting, especially that first experience I had with the turkeys, so you started, was it safe to say then 2012 was your first turkey season down here?
That's correct.
Because you investigated it in 11 in June.
Correct.
Booked hunters, then came in 12.
The spring of 12.
So you'd only been rolling for 3 years when I came here. I didn't realize that.
I mean, it had all the bugs worked out already by then.
Yeah, it was, I shot my bird the first morning at about 6 yards, watched them fly out of the tree in the whole nine. So it was about as good of a turkey hunt as you could ask for.
The HuntStand podcast is powered by Muddy Outdoors. For Josh and I, we run Muddy because it plain works. From tree stands to box blinds and the new Deviate camo and boots, it's the gear we trust every season. When you're spending long hours in the woods, it makes a difference having equipment that's built for hunters by hunters. And that's why we stick with Muddy. To check it out, head to gomuddy.com.
Crossbow hunting has opened a lot of doors for keeping our hunting traditions alive. Crossbows have been great for bringing new hunters into our circle, but also for keeping older bow hunters in the field. No matter where you're at in your crossbow hunting journey, you can look to our partners at 10 Point to find the most diverse line of crossbows with the best of the best technology for virtually any budget. Head on over to 10pointcrossbows.com and use the crossbow selector tool to find your next setup. So, Ted, from your perspective, like when you first got into this, obviously there's some inherent barriers to entry doing any form of international outfitting, even if it's just across the border into Mexico. Was it tough for you to get rolling and deal with the red tape and paperwork and just the logistical side of it, or like how did you get through all that?
Actually, it was pretty seamless as well. Alice had already had some experience with a previous outfitter, so as far as bringing the guns in, she had that down pat. And then I was very lucky to have one of her her late husband's friends, Nick Forsyth, who's still guiding here, as a mentor and someone that could help coach me through that process because he'd been doing it for years. He lives in Douglas, and basically walked me through all the process of stopping at the U.S. side and getting the 4457, then going to Customs and Immigration on the Mexican side where they review your passport and all the serial number and gun information. And then from there you go to the military garrison for a repeat process of that same gun issue. And it really, as long as a hunter or somehow a number doesn't get changed as a serial number on the gun permit, it's really seamless. It takes about an extra 30 minutes to cross, 45 minutes to cross versus having no weapons. But the Mexican authorities, I think they recognize the potential for tourism and with hunters, and they don't really give us a hard time. In 12, 13 years of doing this, I can't recall one single time where we've had an issue unless it was something that we did, transpose a number or something or serial number. Everything other than that has been just pretty easy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obvious that you're very thorough with everything. Like you even mentioned, you can't end up with a stray shell casing in your truck from a hunter when you're trying to go back because it might not be a caliber registered to you personally.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's paying attention to those details and not becoming complacent, but you're it's obvious that you're thorough and meticulous about it. Everything just feels like almost like you're on autopilot because you've done it so many times and you're real comfortable with it.
Well, there's some apprehension from U.S. hunters coming into Mexico. There's a lot of stuff in the media that most of it's not true. I feel, again, I keep using the word fortunate, but this particular part where we cross from Douglas into Agua Prieta, we don't have the nefarious stuff going on like some of the other ports of entry across the southern border. Again, I bring my wife and children down here since I came in 2002, over 20 years ago. I cannot think of a single time that myself or one of the hunters that I had with us had an uncomfortable moment or were scared or questioned what was going on. And that's important because, again, one of the questions that I get, not from the repeat hunters, but from a new hunter inquiring whether to come to Mexico is, well, my wife doesn't want me to go because she's worried something's going to happen. So, I try to calm their nerves and give them my personal experience about things, but sometimes that's not enough. So sometimes I often refer back to a State Department. You can go on the website and they list places that American tourism shouldn't go, and they specifically talked about Sonora. And this is maybe more information than you're looking for.
No, this is all good.
But I believe in the year 2022, there was 4 Americans killed in the state of Sonora. Okay, the state of Sonora at that time had about 2.2 million people. So 4 Americans traveling in the calendar year were killed in Sonora. Don't know what they were doing. Were they doing something they shouldn't have been doing? But whatever reason, there was 4 killed. So the city of Chicago has about 2.2 million people, and there's about 7 Americans killed there every week.
I was literally just going to say, unfortunately, in the time that we've already been recording this podcast, 4 Americans have probably been killed in the United States somewhere.
Right. Yeah. We have a policy that we travel together. We don't travel at night. We travel from the border straight to the ranch and back. We're fortunate that, I keep using that word, that the county road that we travel down terminates at our property line. We have a locked gate. There's no through traffic. in the last 13 years with all of our guides and all of our hunters that are glassing from prominent posts around the property. We've never seen anybody with a camo backpack on transferring. We've never found a dirty diaper or a bunch of water bottles or any tracks of humans. So there's no trafficking through here. We have this big mountain range of the Sierra Madres behind us. There's no pass through it. So yeah, it's just it's a very safe, relaxing place to come and hunt. And I think it becomes easier and easier every year to sell that or promote that because of the history that we've had here at the ranch.
Well, I want to intercede. I live here alone, and I've lived here for 36 years, and I do travel at night on the back roads. I travel all the time, and I've never had an incident, and I'm not afraid to leave. It's all the neighbors know everybody. You get a flat tire, you walk to the nearest ranch. It's a community, so.
So speaking of, you mentioned the mountain range. Let's describe for people, because this podcast does have a video version. There are going to be some nice visuals so people can kind of understand what the area looks like for those who are watching. But for those who are only listening, if you guys could kind of tag team to describe what the area looks like, the topography, the habitat types, like just the ecosystem. I know that there are a lot of birds that come through here. So there's a lot of biodiversity, even though you might look out and it looks kind of desertous in a lot of places. And some of the critters might be hard to find, but they're here.
Well, this is the high desert, the high chaparral, it's called. And it's a transitional area between desert and mountains. And so in those transitional areas, you do see a lot of biodiversity. We are on the extreme western edge of the Sierra Madre Mountains. And that's a mountain range that goes all the way to the U.S. And it was made famous in a film, a classic film in Hollywood that talked about Americans mining in Mexico. But we are in one of the top 5 birding sites in North America. This is a migratory zone for millions and millions of birds every year, about 350 different species. And there's always something to see. There's always something in bloom, even in the winter. We are now in the middle of January, and it's 65 degrees today. And I don't know if the camera shows it, but it's very sunny. And
yeah,
go ahead.
The temperature fluctuation is incredible here. But again, I'm from Florida. With the humidity, 40 degrees in Florida, you put on everything you own. It was 24 degrees this morning. Yesterday morning, we sat on top of the hill trying to spot deer, and I had on a T-shirt, a couple layers of muddy, and I was perfectly comfortable. At home, you'd be freezing to death. We've had snow here. Generally, every year we've had snow. Sometimes we get temperatures. Once or twice, I've seen single digits here. But besides the temperature range, the different types of animals are incredible too. Here, we've got bears, we've got mountain lions, we've got Coues deer, obviously. Did I say black bears?
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
black bears.
Javelina,
Coati Monday. And dare I mention the spotted cat? Potentially has been seen in this area.
We're in a migratory route for the jaguars that go from south to the border. Yeah, also.
Yeah. So
I think somebody the other night was showing a trail camera video that was somewhere not too far from here with a jaguar, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, right across the border into Arizona, in the Douglas area, was where they filmed the first jaguar seen in the continental United States in, 50 years or so.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, big diversity of animals, good quality. The management philosophy that I picked up from Alice when we started here was fewer is better, bigger is better. In 28,000 acres with a dozen hunters, we typically take 8 to 10 deer a year off that many acres. So we've been quality managing since I started here. It's like any population that goes up and down. Right now we're in a stable population, good quality deer and lots of turkeys. So it's been great hunting here.
I've been surprised at how healthy all the animals are. It's winter. Winter for us is when animals are struggling to find food or, water, but here there's ample water on the property. I know you guys had rain last week, but it's very lush, very green. All the animals just look really, really healthy. So that's kind of been a surprise for me coming down, what would be middle of the year for us, and normally tough for our animals back home, but doing really, really well here.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that surprised me was the topography. I expected more cactus, rocks, desert, and there is some of that. Actually, there's quite a bit of it, but there's also thousands and thousands of acres of oak trees, which provides a lot of mast and protein for the turkeys and the deer, as well as the live running water with the big sycamore, the enchanted forest, as it's been called. So there's a lot of diversity there as well.
And it's because they are Coues deer, they are whitetails. So with the amount of ground that there is here, you can actually manage it. If it were a migratory herd of mule deer or something, for instance, and especially if you've got any hunting on any neighboring ranches, that's not necessarily a situation where you could have a meaningful impact in the management. But because they are whitetails and because there is so much ground here, it's pretty cool. You almost have your own little mecca of Coues deer that you can manage. I'm sure some of the other ranches that people hunt down here, I'd imagine there's probably more, a lot of small blocks and stuff that connect. And so you got one guy doing something here, another guy doing something different way over here. And then, if you don't have enough to work with, even with whitetails, it's like you're kind of pissing in the wind when it comes to management if you don't have enough to work with. So I think that's a really cool, unique aspect. And I think certainly there probably are a number of outfitters who do this type of thing and probably shoot way too many deer, I would imagine, just to bring in more clients. But you're really conscientious about how many people you have out here.
I make a distinction between extraction and management. And I've looked for 3 years for a guide. I wanted somebody who would respect that this is our home and we have a certain management philosophy. And Ted manages. He doesn't extract. One year, I don't remember if it was a drought year, and we have a wildlife biologist do a census every year. And we were told that we have the same deer population, but because of the drought, the antler quality might suffer this year. So we booked half the hunters that we usually do because we just wanted everybody to leave happy.
Yeah, and on that note, I think that what makes, if I was a client coming here, what would make this special is we only take 4 hunters at a time. It's a one-on-one hunt. Typically, we scatter. Sometimes when we get up in the morning, Alice makes a hearty breakfast, packs us a lunch, and we're gone till dark. Sometimes we see each other, sometimes we don't. We have radio contact, but you're isolated and you feel it's like an adventure hunt, but it's not an adventure hunt because you have the accommodations and the Wi-Fi and everything. But the minute you leave camp, you feel like it's an adventure hunt. And
Exactly.
I think that's unique. And back to your point about the management, Coues deer have a specific range, and part of this ranch is outside of that range, the lower part, the lower elevation. There are a few Coues deer, but we don't hunt that area because it's difficult to hunt. It's hard glass, etc. And then past that, it's basically desert, and there are no Coues deer. So we've kind of isolated to the east. To the west, we have that mountain range, and we own, or Alice and her family own the bottom third. The top third is owned by the government.
Yeah,
it's
a national forest.
It's a national forest. No hunting, no mining, no fire cutting, wood cutting, no trespassing. Basically, so we have
no access roads.
And no access roads. So we have a breeding ground, a sanctuary on our west border. So you've got the east border, west border. We're also almost creating this island effect where we can really manage. To the south, we only have one ranch that borders us, and to the north, I think there's two different ranches that borders to the north. So it's an idyllic situation for if you're trying to grow big Coues deer, where you can control a lot of things. And in a typical whitetail environment in Iowa or Kansas or wherever we're bordered by lots of people that may have a different mindset on trophy management, I hate to say, you can't ever really control whitetails, but we can effectually manage what we have because of those situations, I think.
One of the other things I love about this camp, and it's been this way, I don't know if every group you have in here is the same. I'd imagine it is because, you, like she said, you bring in good people. But what I love about it is it's all for one for all. So nobody has quit hunting the entire time we've been here. We're all hunting for each other. We're all glassing for each other. Like, everybody's staying out there grinding. I wouldn't necessarily call it a grind. It's actually, I'm going to be bummed the moment I have to go home and I'm not putting binoculars to my eyes in the morning.
Can we put that siesta picture you took of yourself yesterday?
Well, nobody. I'm on the glass all day. I never took a nap. No,
Beth, I have a photo album I've created.
You got it?
His,
Okay.
His prone positions.
It's his back. It's his back, Ted.
there's nothing better than a little siesta out there on the hill. But no, I love how everybody's in it for everybody, and that's when I hunt with my friends. My only hunting buddies. That's our philosophy. And if I end up on a hunt with somebody and they don't naturally adhere to that, then they don't ever get invited back.
Yeah.
So I love that it's been that way, and we still
It's been awesome. I think everyone tagged out on day 2.5, and we're on day 5. I'm the only one left for the tag, and everybody's been up for breakfast at 5:45. Josh and Logan are around 6. And I mean, Ted's right. It's like we leave here at 6:30 and we get back about 6:30, quick shower, and then we go, eat a family meal that Alice has prepared for us. So it's a blessing to be in a camp like this. Like you said, it is very homey. We're making plans already to stop together on the way back to the airport. But yeah, I love that mentality of like, until the last tag is filled, like we're all working to make sure everybody's successful.
So speaking of the hunt, Ted, just walk through what an average day looks like. And I'll preface that by saying, we are here right now, and according to HuntStand, our whitetail rut map does not go down into Mexico because we would probably never be able to acquire the data we need to make it as accurate as we would like. But it does go all the way to southern Arizona, which is not very far from us. So I'd imagine that the deer herd down here is probably the rut timing is maybe either identical or very, very close. So according to that, we are in the peak phase of the rut right now. So the majority of breeding is happening right now during a 9-day window, which we also suspect might be we might be experiencing some lockdown right now, even though we're hunting these mountain deer. But that said, it's a rut hunt right now.
Right.
So you take, what do you usually take? 2 or 3 groups of hunters, or?
3 groups of 4.
Okay.
We start January 6th and end up January 26th, trying to pick up a little bit of the pre-rut, the full-blown rut, and then the post-rut.
And once they're back out there looking for those last potential estrus does. So it's a rut hunt, and you accommodate rifle hunters and archery hunters. You've had both. I think you've even had muzzleloader hunters.
Yep. Actually did.
So what's just give people an idea of like what an average day looks like out here.
This episode is brought to you by StealthCam, delivering industry-leading trail cameras built for serious hunters. When it comes to monitoring food plots or patterning deer, StealthCam gives us the clarity, reliability, and tools we count on season after season. Explore the full lineup at stealthcam.com. The HuntStand podcast is powered by Yamaha Outdoors. For us, Yamaha side-by-sides like the Wolverine RMX 41000 LE are a game changer for us in the woods. Whether it's hauling gear to the deer stand, putting in work around the farm, or just hitting trails with the family, Yamaha delivers the reliability and comfort we count on. If you want to check them out and the full lineup of Yamaha ATVs, side-by-sides, and off-road vehicles, head to YamahaMotorsports.com.
Well, as Beth said, we're usually eating breakfast by 6:30. 6:30. 6. Thank you. I get that confused sometimes.
Just for the record, breakfast is at 6. Everybody else seems to be done by 6, but me and Logan, we respect what the times are. So we're there at 6. That's when we're told to be there.
That's right. So you're not late. So we're here at 6. Eat breakfast. Wheels up at 6:30. Typically, you might drive 10 minutes. You might drive 30 minutes. We try to get at our hunting destination right at daylight. we can either, what we usually do is we'll tiptoe up to the top of some vantage point, set up our glass. We may sit there for 30 minutes. We may sit there for 3 hours, depending on the deer movement. A lot of our shooting occurs right there at that spot. Typical ranges are anywhere from 200 to 500 yards, average being probably 350, closer to 4. So being able to shoot well, shoot long, it increases your chances, your opportunity goes up. This country we're in, we're blessed again to have a unique system of roads here. In fact, the grader was here cleaning up the roads, and I challenge anybody that's ever hunted Mexico to come to our ranch and not say that we have the best roads south of the border. They're just phenomenal. So that gives us the opportunity, if we do glass something that's 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 yards away, instead of trying to navigate the hills and walk and tire yourself out, we can actually go back off the hill, get in a vehicle, cut the distance, and then make a stalk into a closer proximity for a shot. So we'll sit there until the deer movement's over. We may eat lunch on the hill. We may move to a different location, after we eat lunch. And then we prepare for the afternoon hunt. Seldom do we come in for lunch. Most of the time it's all day. The diversity of terrain makes it sometimes easy and sometimes difficult at the same time to spot deer. We have a lot of open grassy hillsides, but we also have thick oak forests and places where Coues, which again are 100 to 125 pounds, they're not big animals. They can hide. The rut helps the movement of the deer chasing. That movement allows us to pick those deer up easier than a bedded animal. But that's and then we hunt till dark. Head back to the house and grab some dinner and make a plan for the day. That's basically how our day goes.
I think, these are whitetails, so they have all the whitetail characteristics, but they're a lot smaller than most whitetails, especially if you're talking about Midwestern whitetails. I mean, they're dang near, they're half the size or even smaller. And their coats, they're called the gray ghost for a reason. Most of their coats tend to be more gray, and I'd almost say when you look at them, they almost are like transparent because they camouflage so well with most of their surroundings. Like we saw a couple does while we were driving this morning that were 80 yards off the road, and Ted pointed at them, and I looked at them, and I saw them, but it was almost like I was looking right through them, almost like there's like a transparency just because the camouflage is so good. So they're tremendously difficult to spot. In fact, if they're not moving, they're dang near impossible to spot. So hunting them outside of the rut, I'd have to imagine it's one of the most difficult spot and stalk hunts you could ever try to do. And it's so easy for them to disappear into the slightest little patch of cover. You'll be looking at something from even 200-300 yards, not 1,000 or 2,000 yards, and it looks like you should be able to see everything, and all of a sudden they just vaporize into the smallest little piece of brush. And then sometimes they don't ever come back out. It's like they just went into a tunnel system or something like turkeys like to do. It
is. Until you come here and realize that the terrain is so hilly. I guess that's the best word. From a vantage point, you're looking across the tops of these ridges, right? Ridge after ridge. The ridge might be 10 feet wide. It might be 30 feet wide. So the deer, as he's traveling from the bottom to the next bottom, he goes over that top just in a split second. So you can be looking here, and that deer crosses, and you never know he's there. And we found out through a couple stalks as we were trying to get closer to this buck that you were trying to kill that second day. When you get in those bottoms, it's a jungle, and you see the deer trails, and you see the places where they've gone to the bathroom, and you realize that, man, we're seeing maybe a tenth, maybe 20% of the deer that are on the property you actually see. And like you said, when you do see them, it's just for a split second. So you have to be ready.
And they are whitetails. So like the interesting thing is you'd think that you'd come out and hunt mountain whitetails and they'd be so much easier to find and pin down than whitetails that are living in big timber. But I'd say it's almost even more difficult because because they are whitetails, they know the blueprint to these mountains so well that they know where every route is that they can take. That's security cover. They know how to disappear. They don't want to be seen. It's not like mule deer where you're liable to see them and be able to glass them up at all hours of the day, and they might just be laying out in the open, or they might be just under a single solitary tree or something like that. They find the cover. They stick to it a lot. I'd have to imagine that they're largely nocturnal, just like every other whitetail, and they're really, really hard to get on. So the fact that you guys have such a high success rate definitely says something about the management side of it.
Well, that and hunting through the rut helps too, because they do go into lockdown and the does do stand. And when they're in that frame of mind, the bucks are more they're sitting on top of those does. So a lot of times, if you find a doe and you can't see a buck, you'll watch that doe for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and all of a sudden she'll take a step and he'll take a step, and that makes them a lot more visible and easier to shoot, obviously, in the rut.
Yeah, we've seen that numerous times this week where it's good to bookmark, just like it is anywhere, but it's good to bookmark where those does are at, and then if you can relocate them and keep checking on them, because they're bound to, like I said, was it yesterday morning when we saw those does running around, I was like, hopefully they get something riled up.
That's right.
And next thing you know, I mean, eventually.
It was an hour later.
Yeah, and then here comes a buck out of the woodwork. He
Following those
smelled
same
something
two does.
he liked.
Yep.
So Beth, how's it been for you? This is your first time hunting in Mexico, first time hunting Coues deer. You've done a lot of other hunting at this point, tree stand hunting, spot and stalk, multiple different big game species, different parts of the world. Like, what do you think about it?
One, the location is, I think Logan asked me, what did you expect when you came here? And I was thinking like vast desert, getting up on a vantage point and just being able to see a bunch of country. And you can, but it's not easy to see through, like you talked about it. It's quite diverse and quite challenging. Coming into Mexico, had the same concerns, and you calmed my nerves with, family back home, like, you're going where? To do what? And they're like, are you coming back? And I said, I think we'll be okay. They've done this once or twice. The hunting is amazing. Like you've said, I've hunted, a lot of places, a lot of different ways. This is the most time I've ever spent behind glass. Like, I have learned a lot from Richard. We figured out our lingo, how he walks me into deer. But the first night we were glassing, he's like, oh, there's a doe. Walks me into her. I'm looking at exactly what he's pointing out, and I don't see the deer until she turns her head. And I was looking right at her. So you talk about how hard it is to see these animals. And then the last few days, like we talked about, if lockdown is going on, like, we're struggling. We've got 9 sets of eyes out on these hills moving around. Like you said, it's a team sport, and it's tough to find the bucks right now. But it's like, that's what makes it fun too. So, like you said, we got a few hours left, and we're gonna give it everything we got till last light.
Yeah, it's a true challenge. I think there's still a lot for people to learn about Coues deer hunting. I really feel like it's just taken hold during the past 10 years. I know it's become a lot more popular. You're seeing a lot more YouTube videos and stuff of people coming down here with outfitters and DIY. But either way, it's you got to have a lot of respect for it. The first time I did it, what you just said, to kind of coin it, like, it's a masterclass in glassing.
Yes.
I've done all sorts of different spot and stalk hunts like you have, in various types of terrain and different species, different times of year, big country, tight country, you name it. This is a masterclass in glassing. Having good optics, having a variety of optics. We've been running a lot of higher power, 15 power binoculars, which is really nice to reduce the eye fatigue of having to just look through a spotting scope. Yep. But at the same time, the country is so big and the deer are so small and they don't have large racks, even if they're a big Coues deer, that usually those 15s aren't enough to really get a good look. So you do got to have a spotting scope, at least a 30 to 60 power spotter to decide if it's even a deer that you want to pursue. So that's why I say it's a masterclass in glassing, not just from the strategic standpoint, but knowing what equipment you need to have. I know last time I was down here, I brought a 10x42 binocular, and then I had a spotter. So I ended up spending most of the time behind a spotter. And after 5 days like this,
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't lose half the vision in my right eye, because it's exhausting. So having those high power binoculars on a tripod,
On a
Yes,
tripod.
exactly.
if you don't have them on a tripod, I mean, you're toast, because it'll give you a headache. It'll burn out your eyes, and when you're gridding with that glass, you have to use the tripod. You have to stop, and you need it to be dead still, because you're looking for the smallest little flicker of motion in all these little pieces of cover, and if your bino is shaking at all, you're liable to miss that deer. Like, you're most likely not going to see it unless it's in the wide open. So, yeah, I would challenge anybody to find a more difficult hunt when it comes to glassing. But it excites me because I got other hunts planned this year, mule deer and whatnot. It's going to feel a lot easier. They're bigger. They're just easier to see. But you take these skills and it can transfer into a lot of other types of hunting.
Absolutely.
So I dig it.
The one piece of equipment you forgot was the chair. A
That's
lot of
right.
people think you're kind of wussing out if you sit on a chair, but you sit on that mountain, on those rocks, and on that cold ground for 8 or 10 hours a day, having a little elevated tripod seat. It relieves a lot of the back fatigue and leg fatigue. And of course, with the tripods, a lot of times I catch you stretched out, standing up and glassing, just to relieve that shoulder and back fatigue.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say I've spent actually most of my time standing up. I do kind of have a messed up back, so sitting down for too long bothers me. But, yeah, you kind of get into your own groove. Everybody has their own style. I got to admit, you guys mentioned the chair, and I was stubborn. I was like, I've never used a chair. I don't need a chair, so I've been sitting on a pad. But then I'm kind of with envy looking over at you guys lounging in your glassing chairs.
Yeah.
Well, you found a nature chair yesterday, didn't
I
you?
did. I found a yucca plant that had died. It was the right elevation, and it was a perfect, comfortable seat for me. Yeah.
So Beth, and you and Ted can kind of go back and forth on this, but shooting. Another big reason why we are here on this trip is because Savage, the 110, the Model 110, the oldest production bolt-action rifle in America. Mm-hmm. Beth is with Savage, and the 110, just a few days ago, it was announced a major revamp to the platform. So it's evolved since, 1958? Mm-hmm. And so we are here to test the new version of the 110, and some of the notable features go into the AccuStock. I'm going to let you talk about that.
Yeah. So visually, it looks very different. There's a lot of internal updates that's going to help with efficiency in smoothness of the bolt, extraction, and you're going to see some really good improvements there. But the biggest thing is the AccuFit. 2018, we launched that. We took that on our first hunt together. And kind of the big thing that we try to do with Savage is let everyone customize their rifle to themselves. You can do it straight from the factory now with what we brought with the new AccuFit V2. You and I both have different length of pull, different comb heights, different pistol grip sizes. So really, I was talking to Richard, my guide, about it, and he's like, so what's new with this rifle? So I was like talking to him, showing, he's like, that could be a family rifle. I said, 100%.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I said, in less than 2 minutes, that could fit your wife, could fit your daughter, could fit whoever. I'm like, or it's someone's rifle, and it grows with them. So we're here to have some fun with it, prove what it can do. But more importantly, just it's a proven platform. And, accuracy's always been there for us. And now we're trying to do what else we can do to have a gun for everybody.
Yeah, and we will have a more in-depth podcast episode specifically geared for the hunt episode on this new 110 update. So we'll do more of a deep dive in that. If you guys want to listen or watch that, it'll be available right alongside this podcast episode, so you can check that out. But I will say, it's a really sweet platform. Just to reiterate what she said, it's got user adjustable comb height, length of pull. It's got the AccuTrigger, 2-stage with the blade on it. And then the certain models have the adjustable palm swell, which is really nice because A lot of rifles these days have adjustability in comb height and even in the length of pull. But what I find is a lot of them, like I got pretty decent sized hands, and a lot of them, the grip is just too small. And so it's really awkward for me to not have a nice big palm swell to get my hand around.
Yep.
And I find myself not wanting to grip the rifle fully in that situation because it's awkward with my hand and it screws up how my trigger pull is.
Yep.
So with being able to increase that palm swell for bigger hands, if you want to, it just gives you a lot more streamlined shooting positions. You're going to be able to take more accurate shots. And it's kind of the whole point of the whole system is better accuracy, more comfort. The rifle that you shoot needs to fit you. I mean, that's even if you don't have the greatest trigger, or even if the rifle isn't just inherently super accurate with either the action or the barrel or whatever it is, if it doesn't fit you, that's really going to cause problems. So
Well, and I think the one thing that I've noticed when we launched AccuFit and now this version, the one story is so. I think I sent you your rifle, and I hadn't sent you any of the information about the gunner. And he's like, "How do I adjust this thing?" And I'm like, "It's just the one button in the bottom." And it is. You push the button, and the length of pull goes in and out, and you turn the dial, and the comb goes up and down. And you're like, "That's awesome!" And I'm like, "It is."
yeah, I was overthinking it. I was like, okay, I don't want to mess with this thing. I might screw something up. And it's literally one button does both.
And it's interesting, people wonder, well, my rifle, I can make it work. When you're in an environment like this where you don't know when a deer's going to walk out, you may have less than 10 seconds to make a decision and shoot a deer. Shouldering that rifle, knowing you're going to have line of sight through the optic, and it just fits you inherently. Like, I think that's some of the things that I've learned to appreciate, because when I started hunting, we didn't have this system. It's something that I've gone and I tweak it every time I go out based on, I had 3 jackets on this morning because it was 24 degrees, and now I'm going to be hunting in this. And so it's just something like that. Like, I fine-tune my rifle, and it's just for me. So having something that you can do, for multiple people, or a camp rifle, it's a pretty cool system.
It is. Ted, I'm sure you've seen the gamut when it comes to different firearms that people bring down here. Like you said before, you guys are really good at being able to accommodate different shot distances. I mean, you've got enough areas and different like types of vantage points and whatnot where you have a good idea of how and where the deer are going to be moving. But like you said before, like 300 is pretty standard, and a lot of hunters, especially if you're from the Midwest or something, you never shoot 300. You're lucky to shoot 100 if you're hunting timber a lot of the time. So if you're going to do this hunt, it behooves you to get some time downrange at some extended distances. And it's not to say that you have to take a 300-yard shot or a 500-yard shot, but your odds will go up significantly, I would say, between that 300%, or if you're used to shooting 100 yards and maybe you're only comfortable shooting 200, I'd say that jump from 200 to 300 probably brings you up 40% opportunity.
It does.
And then that jump from 300 to 500 brings you up another 20, 30% or something like that.
Basically, if you can shoot 500 accurately, take into consideration this animal's only about 14 inches from the bottom of his chest to the top of his back, with a kill zone half that size. So if you can shoot at 500, there's no place on the ranch that we can't go that you can't get a shot. The one thing I encourage people to do, and I need to probably put this in my literature to you folks, is that shooting off a bench and running box after box after box on a bench at 300 lets you know where the rifle hits. But you don't have a bench out here.
Yep.
You might have a rock, you might have a tree limb, you might have a tripod, but you need to shoot prone, you need to shoot sitting up. Depending on the year and the vegetation that we have, some of these ridges you can't lay down and shoot because the grass is too high. So you got to find something that works for you in a bunch of different situations, and you don't know what that situation is, so you need to practice all of them. Get off the bench once you're dialed in and run some rounds through, so you really know your rifle.
Yeah, and it's your body mechanics until you shoot all those positions. When you're forced to drop into a position that you're not comfortable with, it's not a good feeling, because everybody's body's a little bit differently. So there are just when you go through shooting drills in all those different positions, you learn the tweaks that you need to make for yourself to be able to feel comfortable and feel anchored and have everything just solid. And if you've never done it before and your first time is doing it 300 to 500 yards on a tiny little deer that you can barely see because it's transparent, it's not a situation you want to put yourself in. So totally agree with that.
Yeah, and then and when you say prone, well, prone's great if you're laying on something flat, but you might be laying like this, or the shots you made the other day, you were actually tilted downhill just a little bit.
Yes.
And you had to wait and wait and wait for the deer to get into the right position, and eventually you got a leg cramp. And we'll tell on you. My leg's cramping. And so we were fortunate. We had some time, and the sun was not right. So anyway, you'll see that coming up soon, I hope. But
better to be lucky than good, and I had all the luck on my side with that
we were
deer.
able to move around. But, yeah, just prone doesn't say it all. Prone downhill, prone uphill, it's all different,
I can probably count the number of animals I've been able to shoot in my life prone. Maybe on one, maybe on two hands, but possibly even on one hand. It's just it's a luxury to be able to shoot prone. At least most of the places I've hunted, which has been quite a few different types of terrain and whatnot. And so you gotta have all the shooting positions. You mentioned something about tools, tripods, and whatnot. Just to quickly recap that as a point of advice, I would say some type of tripod, whether it be with a saddle or even just an Arca plate, anything that'll allow you to get off the ground and have that gun anchored so you're not having to just rely on prone shots. And I've also had a shooting bag with me on this trip, which is great that you can either use for the fore end of your rifle or you can use it for the buttstock just to get yourself a really solid shooting position. And just that little bag gives you a lot more flexibility than you might imagine if you've never used one before. So that's something I would definitely recommend. And then, of course, you're going to be carrying a pack. Make sure there's something in your pack other than just a water bottle. If you got this flat pack that it's got all this capacity in it and it's just empty, when you go to lay down on that thing, if it doesn't have something in there, then you lose one of your best shooting platforms. So even if it's a matter of just shoving some extra layers in there, anything to just help fill that bag so that when you use it, you're going to have more adjustability for elevation. That's something that I could highly recommend as well. And then, of course, not going too far into the shooting and ballistic side of it, but knowing your dope. Once you get out to that 300-yard distance, environmental factors actually become meaningful. Inside 300, unless you have a real stiff wind or something, you can get away with a lot more. But that 300 is kind of that magic number no matter what round you're shooting. And, of course, the farther you go, the more volatile it is after that. So you got to know what your bullets are doing. And we've been fortunate this week, no wind, which is a rarity. But learning your wind drift, at least to know what a 10 mile per hour is going to do at the distances you intend to shoot. That's something you should have bookmarked in the brain so you don't have to think too much about it when you have those 10 seconds to make a decision.
HuntStand offers the very best in mapping, e-scouting, and even gear savings. And the best membership level that you can get through HuntStand is the new HuntStand Ultimate membership. We've got activity forecasts for whitetails, mule deer, elk, and blacktails, and we've got rut maps for all those species as well. And we've got great integrated mapping features like 3D national aerial imagery and a bunch of other base maps and overlays that you're going to want to be able to have access to hunt and scout the most effectively. On top of all that, as a HuntStand Ultimate member, you can get up to 50% savings on great gear from some of the top hunting brands. Go to huntstand.com to learn more.
We've had 4 hunters in camp this week. We're 3 for 4. We've had some great hunts. We got this one evening left. Beth, if you don't mind, before we wrap this up, just let everybody know how your hunt has gone so far and what you're hoping for this evening.
The hunt's been amazing. So my guide has been Richard. We are buddies, and we have seen the far east, the far west, and the far north of the property. We've done run and gun. We've done sit and glass all day yesterday. We were on one ridge. we're seeing deer. We're seeing does. We've seen maybe 2 shooters, just not enough to get a shot on them. But it's I've learned a lot, and that's one of the things that I love about going on trips like this and meeting new people, other hunters, guides. I learn something every trip, and this one for me taking away is behind the glass. Richard has been phenomenal, helping me, how are you gridding? How are you breaking down this hill? Helping me pinpoint things and how to call out things on the hillside. I laughed yesterday. I'm like, I found a small buck. And he's like, where is it? I'm like, I said, I have no idea how I'm going to talk you into it because I don't know any of these. And he's like, oh, it's by the Manzanita. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So it's been a lot of fun just to kind of spend time with him. And I'm looking forward to this evening. Like I said, it's been tough. The big bucks have not been moving. The mature bucks have not been moving the last few days, but we've got 9 sets of eyes, and I've got hope for tonight. So it's been amazing. And then what Alice has here for us, like I'm going to echo. So I'm staying in the little cottage behind us by myself. I open the door when I get back from the hunt. It's like 90 degrees in there, which is great. She's got the fire going, got the little heater going for me. It's very homey. And like you said, you come back, you're relaxed. It's a family environment. We sit around after dinner, guides, other hunters, everybody. It's been amazing. So thank you for the invite. Thank you, Ted and Alice, for allowing me to come down.
That's the beauty of a good hunting camp is even if you're struggling to knock something down, that's maybe 5% of the hunt.
Yep.
The other 95%, you got to make sure you fill it in properly. So this place covers all the bases. Thanks to both of you, thanks to the great staff, thanks to the cowboys, everybody here who's on site, and then of course, just the ranch itself is magical. So we've only got a couple hours left to get out there this afternoon. What time is it?
1:30.
1:30. So we've actually got some other podcasts we're going to try to record before we head out. So as I mentioned before, one of those will be a companion podcast to this, specifically focused on the new Savage 110 platform. Another one, I'm going to go on a full gear rundown of everything I've carried with me on my hunt this week and anything else that I think I should probably add to the kit so I can share that with you guys for when you plan to do a Coues deer hunt, and hopefully you can take something away from that. So this is the HuntStand podcast. We appreciate you listening and watching. Drop us a comment, drop us a review, and we'll see you on the next one.